It has been almost 2 decades since I was part of automotive industry for a very short period of 2 years. It was early on in my corporate in-house life, or rather it was my first in-house job. And I must say, it was one of my most valuable learning experiences, if not the most valuable experiences that is. It was partially on account of the fact that being a single person team, the job threw varied challenges at me, and I had to learn new things every single day. And in large part because of the way my then boss had sat me down and created a 2 year long roadmap for me to deliver. Hello, friends. My name is Amol Apte, and this is Lex Prudence podcast, where we are picking up one industry and trying to explore as many legal areas around the same as we can. We just finished our first part, which was about the online gaming industry. And now we are starting with the automotive industry. We are trying to keep the focus on the industry from the side of original equipment manufacturers, that is OEMs, as they are popularly called in the industry. So, if you have not been on my channel before, please search Lex Prudence, that is Lex Prudence Prudence on YouTube or Google Podcasts and give it a try. I'm sure you will find something of interest to discuss with me again. So, as I was saying, the 2 year roadmap that we created for me to work on was one of the best learning experiences for me for the following reasons. A, because it covered all major verticals important for a legal resource to look into in order to make sure that the company that I was working with is working in a safe form from all angles legally. B, because it had specific issues to be focused within the first year, moving on to the next year, so that we make sure that the changes, updates, developments are all incremental and graded and are staggered over a period of 2 years. And therefore, it made it interesting. I always had something to look up to. I wouldn't say that the said verticals were so comprehensive that they covered anything and everything under the sun for the organization, but they were pretty comprehensive in that sense. And I'm going to try and cover those verticals in this series of Lex Prudence podcast and discuss various legal issues around the same. So let's begin and see what are those critical verticals relating to an OEM in India, that is. The first and the foremost is dealer development. Now, what in dealer development is important for an OEM to look up to? Because dealers are one of the most important parts of their distribution chain. The relationship that they have with the dealers is the most critical component for them to ensure that they achieve the sales targets. And at the same time, the post sales service is also delivered the way consumers want it. And therefore, the dealer development is the first vertical that we'll discuss in this series. What all do we discuss in the dealer development portion? A, obviously the dealership agreements. Two, what are the most common issues that we need to address in the dealership agreements? Three, suggestions and recommendations made by FADA, that is Federation of Automotive Dealers Association, and my views around the standard template or the suggestions that the FADA has issued. The second vertical that we'll discuss is product warranties and guarantees. While there are no guarantees in the OEMs or the products that the OEMs sell, but mostly they are warranties. And therefore, we'll discuss the product warranties in somewhat details. Now, what in product warranty? What is exactly warranty and what are the liabilities that the company or the OEM may end up getting because of the warranties that they offer on their products. That's the first thing that we'll discuss. The second thing is how warranties stack up for the OEMs, in the sense that how you word your warranties and how you offer it to the consumers and how they ultimately result in what kind of costs to you and to your dealers is something that we'll see in that discussion. The third is what are some of the important issues to be taken care of. Uh, the people who have been part of this automotive industry will know that uh, how important it is to make sure that you identify the consumables very clearly. You identify the larger components that have higher costs very clearly. You identify the components which may need uh, repairs time and again very clearly, because when you identify all these areas, you will then know what are going to be your costs in terms of warranty claims that come to you. So that's the second vertical, product warranties, that we'll discuss in this series. The third vertical is another very important vertical, which is employment and contract labor. We'll try and understand what do we mean by contract labor and why do we need contract labor. What are the laws that govern the issue of contract labor? Where all can we have contract labor and where all we cannot have contract labor in a manufacturing setup for OEMs, and other labor law issues in a nutshell, not in detail. There are so many labor laws that are applicable to any manufacturer that we won't be able to cover all of them. But in a nutshell, we'll try and understand what all can be the labor law issues that an OEM can face. So that's the third vertical, which is contract labor and employment issue. The fourth critical issue is litigation. Now, for an OEM, and for that matter, for any organization, there are different kinds of litigation. So when we discuss litigation for OEMs or automotive industry and the manufacturers in automotive industry, we'll try and understand three or four major verticals of litigation. A is consumer litigation. Two, civil litigation other than consumer. Three, criminal litigation, if at all there is any, and what all can attract criminal litigation. Or maybe I'll share some of my experiences to discuss the criminal litigation in a nutshell. And then all other categories other than criminal, civil, and consumer litigation. Say some practical or real life examples of a competition law related examples. Probably we'll end up discussing those. So the fourth vertical that we will discuss in this series is litigation. The fifth vertical that I intend to discuss is commercial contracts other than dealership. So dealership in itself is a large vertical, but other than that, there are lots of other commercial contracts also. It's not very different from the basic commercial contracts that we have, but we'll discuss certain important aspects for the OEMs and the commercial vehicle or automotive, rather, not only commercial vehicle, but an automotive industry point of view. We'll discuss some of those examples. So that's the fifth vertical that I intend to discuss in this series, which is commercial contracts other than dealership. The sixth vertical that we may or may not discuss, which is because it in itself is a separate line of business. But what I had in that 2 year long roadmap uh, is auto finance. A lot of companies also have business verticals which are into auto financing, and then some of the issues around auto financing from the point of view of how you create a financing file, what are all the documents that you need in that file to make sure that your file is complete from the point of view of future uh, uh, use cases. Say, for example, repossession of vehicle, recoveries, uh, initiating arbitration or civil recoveries, the execution of arbitration or the civil awards or decrees, so to say. And therefore, you need to understand that the file that you create at the beginning when the finance is issued is comprehensive file. And then obviously some aspects around the Section 138 Negotiable Instrument Act, which is check bouncing and all those things. Obviously, it's not a very detailed analysis of auto finance industry in itself, but from the point of view of an auto manufacturing company, which also has a smaller auto finance division, it's important. And then the last vertical that I may want to discuss in this series is law enforcement agency and the coordination. So you have your uh, uh, police, you have your tax authorities, you have your if you are in the manufacturing of trucks and larger earth moving equipments, you may have your mines and minerals and those kind of authorities. And certain examples or real life incidences that I had handled and faced in my short tenure of 2 years, I will probably take on those issues and discuss in brief to give, in a nutshell, a clear picture of these key verticals that one needs to look at if he or she is serving the automotive industry. So, in this series, these are the 5 or 6 areas that I intend to discuss. A, dealer development. B, product warranties. C, employment and contract labor. D, litigation. E, commercial contracts other than dealership. F, auto finance and related concepts. And last but not the least, law enforcement agency related issues. Now, taking a cue from all these verticals, I intend to discuss certain important legal aspects around each one of them and also share certain real life examples that I have experienced. We'll also discuss some of the current issues like FADA, as I said earlier, uh, where they have issued a standard agreement or a standard dealership agreement, and they want all the automotive companies to kind of, or OEMs to kind of follow that standard template agreement with all the dealers. They're also pushing for a standalone statute for dealer protection, which stems from the fact that there have been certain instances of auto manufacturing industries exiting India and dealers' investments getting stranded. So we'll discuss some of those issues around the FADA and the recommendations that FADA has given. And I have certain opinions on those recommendations that they have given, especially because I've worked on the OEM side and not the dealership side. So I have certain perspectives on those recommendations, which I want to discuss in this series. So that's another interesting aspect that I want to discuss in this series. Of course, it will not be a comprehensive kind of a discussion because automotive industry is huge and it's very difficult to cover every single aspect in 4, 5, or 6 kind of episodes only, and it's an experience that one needs to take. But still, we'll try and cover as many legal aspects around this industry as possible. So I hope all of you enjoy this new season of covering automotive industries from the perspective of OEMs and the legal issues around it, and look forward to engaging with all of you on this new season of Lex Prudence podcast on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much.